News moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and think about it, you're going to miss it. That's why James A. Brown slows down the news. He gets rid of all the political jerseys, replacing partisan bickering with common sense. No bumper stickers or shouting signs here, just better questions about America. This is the James A. Brown Program.
Oh, hello. I'm James A. Brown, and welcome to the James A. Brown Program. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And I thank you for that sincerely. We got a great show for you today, and it's all about time. That's our top line.
The top line.
And for me, it's been a curiosity for most of my life. Time. Clocks. I've been fascinated with this thing. And, you know, yes, I must admit, I'm a weirdo. I have these weird fascinations. And yes, time is one of them, because time tells you a lot about a people, how they keep track of them. Because for most of history, we didn't really worry about it. For most of history, mankind just followed the sun. There were sundials. It's not that we didn't have clocks. We had different kind of clocks. Clocks, as we know them, were developed in I believe it was the 15th century. But the time that we think of day to day, that we carry on our phones and watches, if you still wear those, we really didn't worry about them until the last 150 years. Yes, that's a long time ago for you and me. Most of us weren't alive 150 years ago. Virtually nobody was alive that long ago. But that's when things started to change. Because we humans started to create things that demanded organization. In particular, mass transit. And that's what I want to walk you through here. A brief history of how Americans have been messing with time. And if you bear with me here, I'll explain how this will affect us today. Because you might be worried about this today and tomorrow. And definitely when we change our clocks in a few months. If we change our clocks at all. Hint, hint. Back in 1883, our railroads instituted what we know as a standard time. Back then, time as we knew it was a local matter. Based on your time, back then, time as we knew it was decided by your town. Yes. We didn't have time zones as we knew them. Your town basically had a rough idea of what time it was, and everybody just sort of went by it. Just about. There were clocks, but they weren't all the same. And people went along their lives. Most people didn't travel a lot. They didn't go here and there. They didn't go to and fro. So it didn't really matter. But when the railroad came, we all needed to travel on a certain track. They couldn't afford to have late trains all the time. People needed to know when the train would come. So these giant corporations started to institute standard time, and people just started to adapt it. Now, a couple decades later, we adapted standard time. But not because of the railroads, not directly. In fact, we were influenced by another nation, Germany. In fact, during World War I, Germany and the U.S. were at war. The first time around. And Germany decided that, if there was less daylight, people would use less fuel. So they came up with this concept called daylight saving time. They started observing it on May 1st. And the rest of Europe did the same. And it saved fuel. So our president, Woodrow Wilson, did the same for the rest of World War I. Now, farmers didn't like this. Farmers were kind of pissed, actually, because they had less daylight hours to do their work. They wanted to harvest crops in daylight and not in the dark. They wanted to milk cows in daylight and not in the dark. Makes sense to me. Who wants to do that in the dark? So, it became kind of a local option after the war. But the idea kind of stuck around. But you know what happens with crisis? With crisis, we give government more control. Government gets more control during crisis. So, once again, a couple decades go by. Franklin Roosevelt is in control of the nation. FDR is president. And in the mid-1940s, he comes up with a concept called wartime. Only it's year-round to ration supplies, ration gas. Only lasted a few years. And for a few decades, this went on. Wartime faded to black, and it became a local thing. Some people kept adapting this idea because it was in the firmament. Some people continued to use the idea of daylight saving time, and others did not, and it was optional. Until it wasn't. In the 1960s, Lyndon Johnson said, we're going to make this uniform. And, Arizona and Michigan fought it. And other states fought it too. But not everybody got away with it. Then all of a sudden, that's the daylight saving time that we know. And then came the 1970s, where we had another panic. There was the oil embargo of the 1970s. I wasn't born yet, but that was a oil shock. Oil prices went through the roof. President Nixon at the time, once again to conserve fuel, he declared daylight saving time year round. And boy, people hated it. There was this wild opposition about children leaving school in the dark. There were traffic accidents going through the roof. There were 8 children killed because of accidents. Public support dropped. And then, of course, Watergate happened, and there was no support for Nixon anymore. And down went daylight saving time. So do you get where I'm going here? Daylight saving time is not a new concept. Obviously, it's been around for all of our lives. It's this ongoing experiment. This thing, we have been toying with time for the last century and a half of American life. That experiment continues today. We're going to talk about the next steps in our great American experiment with time. Coming up soon. This is the Daily Note, James A. Brown program. You know what no one in sales misses? Dead-end DMs, no-show calls, and leads that go nowhere. That's why Meetin exists. Meetin is the premium platform for sales professionals and high-ticket closers who want to turn attention into action. It's built to help you connect faster, present better, and close with confidence. Try Meetin.com at thedailynote.net/sponsors. That's thedailynote.net/sponsors. Buying gold used to be complicated. Vaulted cuts through all that. Backed by McIlvaney Financial Group, one of the longest-running full-service gold firms in the country, Vaulted lets you create an account in minutes, link to your bank, and tap to own real bars of gold. Learn more at thedailynote.net/sponsors. That's thedailynote.net/sponsors. Now on with the show.
Want to talk to James? Call or text him. Use 585-371-8865. Leave your name. We might have you on the show. This is the Daily Note.
Oh, welcome back. I was just walking you through a brief history of how Americans have spent the last 150 years messing with time. I walked you through about 100 of those years, but that's not at all. We're not quite up to now, but we'll get there just shortly. Stick with me. So after the 1970s experiment went awry, what happened was there was an extension, and it wasn't year-round. And then some states kept it, other states didn't, but it continued. And that's what I grew up with, and you probably grew up with, and we all know. And what happened over the last 20 or 30 years or so is that congressional leaders showed up and they decided, this kind of sucks. Like, I don't want this anymore. And there's been a push after push to repeal it and not repeal it. And I could walk you through all the minutia, but this all has crescendoed with the Trump administration. Donald Trump, who's based in Florida, Marco Rubio, who's Secretary of State, who's based out of Florida, and a lot of the lawmakers who are behind pushing against this are based in Florida, have said, why do we need to do this? What's the point of this? And we finally, not long ago, got to the point where we got this happening in Congress.
Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess at any time. Today, the Rules Committee is convening to consider a single measure, H.R. 139, the Sunshine Protection Act of 2025. This legislation establishes daylight savings time as the permanent year-round standard time for the United States and would dispense with the semi-yearly practice of resetting our clocks. Every November, as all of us are well aware, we follow the annual fall back. But under this legislation, Americans would no longer need to turn back their clocks an hour. Further, H.R. 139 provides exemptions for Arizona, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, as they currently adhere to standard year-round time and therefore remain on permanent standard time. The remaining 48 states under this legislation will be granted the authority to lock their clocks permanently. There are two important things to note here. First, President Trump has made clear his support for this legislation, and he remains adamant that Congress pass it and send it directly to his desk to end what all of us would agree is a tedious and entirely repetitive process. Second, we should take note of the bipartisan support this legislation has garnered both in the House and the Senate. There's consensus on this issue across the ideological spectrum. I look forward to the testimony of our panel here today. I'm sure they have some pertinent facts and figures to share with us about why this legislation is a win for the American people and the nation. With that, I now yield to the ranking member, Mr. McGovern, for any comments he wishes to make.
And on this panel, what you got was support from the American College of Chest Physicians, the World Sleep Society, and a slew of other experts backing this change. The detractors, on the other hand, argue that President Trump is making this change largely because, well, to just fatten his pockets. Look, the man does own a bunch of golf courses. You can't argue that he doesn't. That is a big part of this argument. And if his golf courses have more daylight hours, at least part of the year, you could argue that he'll make more money. But he'll have less daylight hours for part of the year. So like it's honestly, I feel like that's a pretty hollow argument as well. I feel like his argument is that I broadly agree that it's tedious, kind of pointless, but I'll get there later. I want to hear for a bit of the opposition. This is Representative Walkinshield from Virginia.
So the Sunshine Protection Act, it's pushed primarily by members of Congress from Florida, based on the industries in Florida that want to see it, golf courses, including President Trump's. I voted against it. Two reasons. One, we tried this as a country in 1974. We instituted permanent daylight savings time. It seems like a great idea in the summer. It's not such a great idea in the winter, where in some parts of the country it's still pitch black at 9 a.m. For our community in Fairfax County, we struggled this winter with prolonged school closures, with weather events, winter weather events. And one of the drivers of those prolonged school closures was it wasn't safe for kids to be at their bus stop in the winter, in the dark, when there was snow and ice on the ground, the sun coming up an hour later would have a significant impact on kids going to school in Fairfax County and across the nation. So I just think on balance, permanent daylight savings time doesn't make sense.
Were you surprised you were in the minority in the overall vote totals there?
I had no idea how it would go. You know, it's one of those issues, kind of everybody brings their perspective to it. It's you know, I see it as a regional issue because it impacts different parts of the country in different ways, but still people have personal views about it. I get the sense sometimes it breaks down to, like, are you a night owl or a morning person, maybe? But for me, I just think, the experience in 1974 is a long time ago, but we tried it and it failed. The health and safety, I think the science is close to conclusive that from a health and safety perspective, daylight savings time is problematic. And just for our community, I didn't think it would make sense.
We'll have more on this issue in just a few minutes. This is the James A. Brown program. You don't need to be a coder to build online anymore. With Horizons, you can build fully functional websites and web apps by chatting with AI. It's called vibe coding. It's a faster, simpler way to turn ideas into something real, whether you're building for work, for clients, or just for yourself. And with my link, you get an extra 20% off. Learn more at thedailynote.net/sponsors. That's thedailynote.net/sponsors. Get an extra 20% off at thedailynote.net/sponsors. If you're going to travel, you might as well get something back for it. Hilton Honors lets you earn reward points with every stay at Hilton properties around the world. That means more value, more flexibility, and more reasons to make your next trip count. Whether you travel for work or fun, Hilton Honors helps your stays go further. Learn more at thedailynote.net/sponsors. That's thedailynote.net/sponsors. Now on with the show.
When are you going to get rid of daylight savings?
So this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later, but some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark. And it's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And it's something I can do, but a lot of people like it one way, a lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have?
That's obviously President Trump talking about daylight saving time. And I think he's absolutely right. And for those of you who don't know, this is the James Brown program. And I do a daily column called The Daily Note. I'm on about 30 radio stations around America. I'm also on newsbreak.com. I have a Substack, and I speak to tens of thousands of people a day. And I wrote about this issue, and I heard from so many people, and it was entirely split. It was a completely 50-50 issue. And I want to walk through some of the responses I heard from people on this one, and it was quite interesting. This fella, and I have to say, come on, fella, work on your username XXXXXXX on Newsbreak. Come on, man, work on your username. I'm all for daylight saving time. I like the extra light in the evening. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it would be the same it would save tons of energy as stores, etc. Could delay exterior lighting for an hour. In an effort to quit beating this horse to death and settle this continuous debate, why not simply split it by half an hour? That way, everyone gets at least a half of what they want. So basically, he's saying don't completely delay daylight savings time. He says basically, like split the kid in half. Like, don't go all the way, one way or all the way the other. So sort of go, 50-50. Look, I don't think you can really do that. I think if you're going to do this, you kind of have to go one way or the other. You can't just look, I think you have to make a decision here where you either have to be a nation where you have daylight saving time or not. I don't think we can afford to go halvesies on this one. Okay. This was an email I got from Amber Locklear. Please make standard time permanent. Please. Prayer sign over and over and over again. Look, I'm not against the idea. I think she's got a point. I could see that logic happening and working. Not against it. I'm open to the idea. Amber, and thanks for reading. Thanks for listening. This is Doug Hill on Substack. Simply, succinctly, yes, I prefer standard time, but whatevers. That's kind of what I wrote and kind of how I feel about it broadly. I think that we should just make a decision and just kind of roll with it. I think we can adapt to whatever we need to adapt to. I don't think this is as big a lift as people make it out to be. I think the world is more malleable than we make it out to be. Thank you, Doug. This is Publius Red. Interesting name. Put it on Eastern Standard Time and leave it so we can be in sync with the rest of the world. We don't need to be in the dark when kids get on the buses and in light at 9 p.m. I don't think we can go Eastern Standard Time across the board. I don't think that one makes much sense, Publius. I don't think we can do that. But if you mean Standard Time, I'm with you. I don't think we can do Eastern Standard Time across the entire world, Publius. But thanks for reaching out. Always love to hear from you. And thanks for the suggestion. This one is from Cynthia McCollum, also on Newsbreak. Keep daylight saving time. My parents always waited for the bus for us. Parents can still do that. But it should not be dark at 5 in the evening. Look, I'm from Rochester, New York. I still live in Rochester, New York. Part of the year now, it's dark at 5 in the evening. When I am driving at 4:30 in December, January, February, it is dark at 5 at that time in the evening. Now, I guess in this case, would it be dark at 3? Maybe. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. It would be one of those side effects in this scenario, or could be. This was a text message. Once again, if you are leaving me a text message, let me get the text message number. Let's see. Please leave your name. I didn't get a name left here. Keep daylight saving time. I'm 69 years old. Start school at 9 p.m. till 3:30 p.m. That's what time school started when I went to school. We walked to school. It was 5 miles one way to school. We would have loved to have more sunshine after school. I think I would have loved it too. I have to say a couple things. Once again, you can call or text me at 585-371-8865. That's 585-371-8865. If you're going to call, leave your name. You don't have to leave. You don't leave your number. I won't put your number on the air, but leave your name so I can at least share your name with the and say, this is Sam. But I do think our texter has an interesting point here. Look, the world is more malleable than we make it out to be. As I explained earlier in the hour, we can reshape the world. We have reshaped the world. We can, just because I went to school, high school for me started at 7:30 a.m. We had to be there at 6:37 for breakfast, and classes started at 7:30. And it doesn't have to be that way. We made it that way. It was a choice of ours. Things don't have to be that way. We made them that way. It is a choice of ours as a society. So I think our texter nailed that. There's no reason why school can't be 9 a.m. to 3:30. There's no reason why we can't reshape things for when daylight is. Now, could it be difficult? Sure, but it already is difficult for a lot of parents, for a lot of kids already. I'm not a morning person, yet I had to be at school at 7:30. It's a difficult, life is not easy. As is. And I think we should be open to rethinking the way things are as we go. So look, I think this speaks to what President Trump was saying, that this issue is 50-50, although 50-50 is probably not the best way to put it. It's at least, if not 50-50, it's probably 33, or maybe 25. How would you describe it? Let me know at james@thedailynote.net. I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a message at 585-371-8865. This is the James A. Brown Program. James A. Brown here, and not to brag, but I think I have the best job in the world, because every day I get to ask and explore all the questions that we're wondering about and don't talk about. Like, why is everybody exhausted? And why is everybody lonely? And what's with all the Crocs? I'm not a fan. It's the Daily Note with James A. Brown. You can find us on air, online at jamesabrown.net, and wherever you get your podcasts. Most surveys feel stiff, flat, and easy to ignore. Survey Noodle takes a different approach, replacing static surveys with real-time conversations that help you gather more honest and useful feedback. That means better insight, better decisions, and fewer guesses. Learn more at thedailynote.net/sponsors. That's thedailynote.net/sponsors. Now on with the show. Oh, welcome back to the James Brown Program. I, of course, am James Brown. Thanks for joining me. You can check out my work at jamesabrown.net. That's jamesabrown.net. I was walking us through some of your response to the daylight saving time proposed changes. It passed Congress. Well, it passed the House of Representatives, and it's up for vote by the Senate. And it could change the way we look at time in this country. So I wrote a column for it, and it went on radio across the country, and it went on Newsbreak, and it went on jamesabrown.net. And I got heard from so many of you. I got voicemails, I got email, I got text messages. And I wanted to walk through some of your responses. So many of them were so interesting. And I got a few more, and I want to walk through them, and I want to close with a few more thoughts. Larry Mikens said, yes, we should ban, or we should go to daylight saving time. I'm a deer hunter, and a later sunrise. When deer season is open, give me an extra hour of sleep, or I can stop for breakfast. If we stay on standard time where I live, sunrise will be 4:30 a.m. in the summer. But the upside is I can mow my lawn at 7 instead of 8. Larry, I don't think your neighbors would like that. I don't think that's something that they would enjoy. I don't think I would enjoy hearing my neighbor's lawn at lawn mowers at 7 or 8 a.m. That would definitely annoy me. But that's you. But I do think there's one thing. There's a reason why I chose this response, because Larry's speaks to something that is really interesting. This is all a matter of choice, right? And all a matter of personal preference. It's not really what's better and what's not, because there is no better and there is no not better, because this is really, as I was saying early on in this hour, something that is relatively new in human history. We put guardrails on something that didn't have guardrails for most of human history. Standard time has only existed for 150 years or so. And there was no government intervention until a little bit over 100 years ago. The Greeks, the Romans, the French Foreign Legion, the Pilgrims. These people did not think in terms of standard time. They thought in terms of days. They thought in terms of where the sun was in the sky. They thought in terms of hours, yes. But they didn't think in terms of this level of precision that we have put on humanity. We have shoved this precision on humanity. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure that's it's unclear to me whether there is like an answer to that. And that's what I love about this program, is that you and me can sit down and have this kind of discourse where there are no easy answers. There are no clear up and downs. We just pull a thread and take it where it leads us. Because I don't think there is a right answer here. There's a lot of strong opinions. Larry Mikens is definitely one of them. I just hope Larry doesn't wake me up when he is mowing the lawn. I got an email from Hamoa Properties who says, why can't we just stay with standard time year round? Why do we have to reinvent the wheel? Part of me agrees with Hamoa. Why do we have to fiddle with something that is not sacred's too strong a term, but something that is unnecessary to fiddle with? Why do we always feel like we know better than all those who came before us? It is one of those things, one of humanity's bad habits. We always feel like we know better than everyone who came before us. At least this era of humanity. We think that our version of time, in our version of culture, our version of law, and our version of everything from sexuality to entertainment. The way we see things is better than those who came before us. Now, I would also agree that they're not necessarily better themselves. Like, they're not perfect. But it's worth, I think we need to have a sense of caution before we assume that our way is always better. And I guess that's what I've been trying to get at in this hour. If I want you to take away anything from our time together. On that note, I'm James A. Brown. And as always, be well.